Hello and welcome to this edition of Wineskins, a program that features reflections on the lives of the saints and sacred scriptures, along with information on topics and issues from a Catholic perspective. I'm Father Jim Korda. Wineskins is brought to you by the Annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts, a division of the Society of St. Paul. On our show today, I will interview Wally Dunne in part 2 from the television series Spotlight. We will also look at the life of Saint Teresa de Jesus de los Andes, as well as reflections on the readings for this Fifth Sunday of Lent. That and more coming up on Wineskins. In our current issue, I will speak with Luke Politsky from the Department of Stewardship for the Diocese of Youngstown. Joining me now is Luke Politsky, who is the Fund Development Specialist with the Stewardship and Development Department for the Diocese of Youngstown. Luke, it's a pleasure to have you on Wineskins.
Thanks for having me.
I think for the folks that are with us, it would be good for them to know a little bit about you. So in a nutshell, tell us what you did prior to coming to the Stewardship Office.
Prior to the Stewardship Office, I was working at the university at Youngstown State in the Housing and Residence Life Department. I was a coordinator of Cafaro House for 3 years. And I did that because I thought I wanted to work at the university for the rest of my life and kind of had my sights set on that. But I learned that God had a different plan for me and brought me to the diocese.
Well, tell us what are some of the specific things that you do in your role as a fund development specialist with stewardship and development.
Right now, at least, our department is engaged in 3 main areas. 2 of them have to do with parishes directly. A couple years ago, we saw the need for help at the parish level, so we help with increased offertory programs and capital campaigns there. We facilitate both of those. Now, parishes and pastors are able to go to outside firms to have these done, but we offer them at a lower cost to the parishes. Plus, we are invested in the parishes because they're part of the diocese, so we're able to provide those services. And we even do some things that the outside firms don't provide, and that's staying with them through the redemption period and things like that. What I have to do, besides meeting with the pastors and the other folks involved, I create all the print materials. So all the brochures and the flyers and the mailers, that's one of my main jobs. And the other thing that we do is marketing for the Catholic Diocese of Youngstown Foundation. So folks have the opportunity to contribute to any of our funds or establish a fund to benefit the parish, CTNY's beneficiary, Catholic schools, students in terms of scholarships. So we take care of the marketing for the foundation.
Let's talk a little bit about the parish's offertory programs that you're involved with. What's kind of the rate of success for that? Are you finding people increasing their offertory collection? And if so, why?
Normally, folks might go for any number of years thinking that what they're contributing weekly is good enough. But we know in our own lives that our household expenses go up. This is us maintaining God's house and maintaining the community house in much way that we maintain our own homes and our own families. Our success rate is about 24% of parishioners respond to the program. That might seem low. Considering what our data collection from before, most pastors are very pleased with it. And a lot of it depends on the pastor's involvement with the program. We've seen some who are very successful, and it's because the pastor gets up there and is very transparent about the needs of the parish.
Let's focus just briefly on what stewardship is and kind of remind the folks that are with us that stewardship really is a way of life and what is all involved.
So our mantra in stewardship is time, talent, and treasure. And for most folks, treasure comes last, and that's what we tend to think about when we think of stewardship. But time and talent is really where the stewardship way of life comes in, and that's being involved in the parish, either from a time serving in a particular ministry or a talent that you have on your own that you might use as one of your hobbies. Well, chances are the church might benefit from that in one way or another, either with a particular ministry or somewhere at the parish level. So it's about thinking about all the things that you've been given by God and asking yourself about how you're able to give them back.
If some of the folks that are with us would like to learn more about stewardship and development and also engage the department in their institution or parish, how do they get in touch with you?
We can be reached by calling the diocese. Either Pat Palumbo, our director, or myself can answer any questions, or you're able to visit our website as well.
And give us a website.
At doi.org.
Luke Politsky, thank you so much for being with us and giving us a wealth of information and knowledge, and we thank you for what you do and also, in turn, how the parishes are benefiting through the Department of Stewardship and Development. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
For Wineskins, I'm Father Jim Korda. This coming Friday, the Church celebrates a feast of Saint Teresa de Jesus de los Andes. To tell us more is Martha Coulter. She is from St. Jude Church in Columbiana.
Teresa was born in Santiago, Chile on July 13, 1900. She was baptized Juanita, the name by which she is widely known today. Her family was well off and faithful to their Christian faith, living it with faith and constancy. Juanita was educated in the College of the French Nuns of the Sacred Heart. When she was 14, she decided to consecrate herself to God as a religious in the Carmelite nuns. She entered the tiny monastery of the Holy Spirit in the township of Los Andes on May 7, 1919, which was near Santiago. She was clothed with the habit of the Carmelite order in October that same year and began her novitiate with the name St. Teresa of Jesus. She knew a long time before that she would die young. Moreover, the Lord revealed this to her. A month before she departed this life, she related this to her confessor. She accepted all this with happiness, serenity, and confidence. She was certain that her mission to make God known and loved would continue in eternity. The holiness of her life shone out in everyday occurrences wherever she found herself, at home, in college, with friends, the people she stayed with on holidays. To all, with apostolic zeal, she spoke of God and gave assistance. She was young-like to her friends, but they knew she was different. They took her as a model, seeking her support and advice. All the pains that are part of living, Juanita felt keenly, and the happiness she enjoyed deeply, all in God. Toward the end of her short life, Teresa began an apostolate of letter writing, sharing her thoughts on the spiritual life with many people. Her life as a nun was the last rung on the ladder to holiness. She died from typhus on the evening of April 12, 1920. She was 3 months short of her 20th birthday and had 6 months to complete her canonical novitiate and to be legally able to make her religious profession. She died as a Carmelite novice. She was beatified by Saint Pope John Paul II in Santiago, Chile on April 3, 1987, and was canonized by him on March 21, 1993. Her remains are venerated by thousands of pilgrims who seek her guidance as a direct way to God. Saint Teresa of Jesus of Los Andes is the first Chilean to be declared a saint. She is the first Carmelite novice to become a saint outside the boundaries of Europe, and the Saint Teresa in Carmel, together with Saints Teresa of Avila, of Florence, and of Lisieux. One need not live a long life to leave a deep impact. Teresa of Los Andes is proof of that. This young woman, who is today glorified by the Church with the title of saint, is a prophet of God for the men and women of today. By the example of her life, she shows us Christ's gospel lived down to the last detail. She is present to us to demonstrate that the total dedication that following Christ involves is the one and only thing that is worth this effort and that gives us true happiness. Teresa remains popular with the estimated 100,000 pilgrims who visit her shrine in Los Andes each year. The opening prayer of the Mass reads, Lord God, you kept St. Teresa faithful to Christ by living the gospel with joy and integrity. May her prayers help us to live in fidelity to our calling and bring us to the perfection you have shown us in your Son, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God forever and ever. For Wineskins, I'm Martha Coulter.
I'm talking with Wally Dunne, and Before the break, we were talking about that whole idea of the importance of Catholic education and Catholic schools as missions. Let's take a little different aspect, looking at the schools as an administrator. How important is it for administrators in our Catholic institutions, especially our Catholic high school and grade school institutions, to be people grounded in the faith? And how important is that also to have that ability to be able to communicate the faith to others?
Well, I think we've always expected the teachers and administrators in our school to be people of faith. And it's very important, I think, that they are people of our faith. We imbue all of our teachings with Catholic philosophy, Catholic principles, Catholic ethic, and whether it's math class and how honest you are with that, or whether it's a social studies class and the civics classes and English classes, and we try to imbue all of those subjects, all of those areas with our philosophy, our Catholic point of view. It's made easier when the Catholic teacher, the teacher is Catholic, Roman Catholic, they are grounded in that faith. However, I can tell you that I have seen and had teachers who were not Catholic, who were people of deep faith, and shared that with students, and the kids were enriched by it.
Let's talk about some of those early administrators in the Catholic school system that you would have experienced and worked with, like Bishop Malone. Tell me of some of your experience of Bishop Malone and how he was as an administrator and also someone who was very committed to Catholic education.
Well, he is really one of the reasons I ended up in Catholic education. Bishop Malone and my mother were classmates at Ursuline High School.
Okay.
And in 1952, I believe it was, he called my mother and he wanted her to consider going into the cadet teacher program. My mother couldn't do it. For whatever reasons, she couldn't do it. She felt very bad that she had to tell her friend, Father Malone, that she couldn't do it. And so she got me and my sister at that point, and she said, I can't do that, but you're going to. In 1952, my mother told me that is after I finished St. Patrick's School in Youngstown, that I was going to go to Ursuline. Well, that got changed when they put the boundary in and built a new high school.
Sure.
Went to Cardinal Mooney. And you're going to go to John Carroll University and you're going to live with your aunt. Well, now when you get out of John Carroll, you're going to teach in the Catholic schools.
Right.
I can tell you that there were a number of times when I tried to move away from that promise I had to make. And I never did. I always pulled back into it, but it's because Malone asked my mother that it brought me into it, and my family, and my kids, and my grandkids. And it's something that I cherish.
Isn't that how it always works, though? You know, it's almost like generational, whether it's in Catholic education or ministry or volunteering in the church. You know, what we do, we hand on to those who come after us. And so that's a wonderful celebration of your family, but also lifting up that whole importance of Catholic education.
I have grandkids in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, Cleveland Diocese, and the Diocese of Monterey, who attend their Catholic schools. And my daughters, my son, have always been very active in their parish schools. And I'm amazed at how the conversation is the same in Cleveland, in Pebble Beach, in Philadelphia, about Catholic education, the challenges of supporting it and making it grow and sustaining it, and the benefits that people see in having Catholic education available to them. There's a study that came out, I heard about it on public radio in Detroit, and it's being published by USC, the University of Southern California, and they did a study of education across the board in the United States, looking for differences. And these are not people who are necessarily Catholic school based, but all of a sudden they recognized that Catholic schools, there was something really different. And they kind of post-holed into it to see what that was. And they came up with self-control. And I thought, that's a strange thing to be reported, you know. But when you think back about our experiences in Catholic education, it is, but it's faith-based, it's ethics-based, and they're touting that as one of the great successes of Catholic education. I can't wait to get a copy of the whole document.
That's interesting. Now, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about religious women who were so much a part of the institution of our Catholic schools. Do you think that was probably one of the mainstays for the beginning of our Catholic education.
Absolutely. And if you look at Sister Jerome Corcoran, who was really the one who pasted together the whole structure of our diocesan schools, we were actually a part of the Cleveland Diocese, as you know, and even up when I started school in 1948 at St. Patrick, we were part of the the Cleveland Diocese. Cleveland Diocese supervised our schools, and there was always this big folder around when they were coming to visit. Mm-hmm. But Sister Jerome Corcoran, and I can recall Sister Bernadine Jancy, Sister Lucille Conley, just women of faith of tremendous energy who formed our schools into what they became as Youngstown Diocesan schools. Many of those sisters actually came from the Cleveland Diocese too. True. Then we had our own Ursulines who were more local. Sister Miriam Engels, who was principal of St. Patrick for many years and later Mother Superior. Sister Mary Edith, my first grade teacher, who loved me so much she kept me for 2 years. And Sister Cecilia Moran, who directed the St. Patrick's Boys Choir, which was just, I mean, that was a formative thing in my life and many other guys too, I know, in St. Patrick's Parish. I look at the Ursuline sisters, the HM sisters, and the Oblates and the others who served in our diocese, and you really have to credit them. You really do, because lay teachers didn't really start coming in until the 1960s. Right. These women held it on the rail. Yep. They really did.
They did, and you know, it's kind of unfortunate and sad that we don't have that presence, not only of the religious women, but also diocesan priests within those institutions. And so why does it make it more crucial for the laity to kind of take on those roles, to be those leaders within those institutions?
I think some of that was laid out by Vatican II also. It may not have come to fruition in the first few years, but I think the direction was certainly there, that the laity had to take a stronger role in education and in their parishes, take over some of the ministries. I don't know that they actually anticipated the shortages that later came about, but I think it was certainly a good idea to begin it back in the 60s, because now it has given the church, you know, a good picking ground for people to fill in on those ministries. And I think in some of the ministries, sometimes they may be very well served by lay people, some of the family ministries, etc.
For more information on that current issue and to listen to Wineskins, visit the website of the Catholic Diocese of Youngstown at www.doi.org. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment. It was in Dungannon, Ohio, in Columbiana County, that one of the first group of Catholics settled. St. Philip Neri, the first parish in all northern Ohio, was founded in 1817 under the title of St. Paul's Settlement. It was to visit this settlement that Father Edward Fenwick, the Apostle of Ohio, made his first trip to northern Ohio. 4 years later, Cincinnati was chosen as a see city in the state of Ohio, and Fenwick was selected as the first bishop. Today, St. Philip Neri remains the oldest parish in the Diocese of Youngstown, but it is also one of the smallest. Congratulations, Catholic Diocese, for celebrating 75 years with pride in the past and faith in the future. The song we have for you today is from the CD called Hymns of Ivory. It is by Don Chapman. And to tell us about the scriptures for this fifth Sunday of Lent is Sister Regina Rogers. She is an Ursuline sister of Youngstown.
Today's Gospel for the fifth Sunday of Lent is another story of Jesus encountering a sinner. This time it is a woman who is brought before Jesus because she was caught in the act of adultery. By Jewish law, she should be stoned to death. But Jesus deals with her, and he deals with the men anxious to mete out her punishment, as he deals with every sinner he encounters, with mercy and compassion. Jesus knows the difference between a sin and a sinner. He does not condemn the men holding the rocks, even though he knows they are after him, trying to trick him so he can be arrested. These must be men of standing, because they know the law and see themselves as keepers of the law. Jesus is a threat to their power and position. These men have no regard for the woman. It is Jesus that they are after, so they shame her to get to Jesus. However, Jesus does not react to their plan. He does not allow himself to be goaded by them. I wonder what he wrote in the sand. Maybe he just needed a moment to remember who he was and what he was about. When he stands up, Jesus sees the woman in front of him as a person. Flawed, yes, but a person beloved by God, so he does not condemn her. In fact, he addresses her using the same word that he used when speaking to his mother at the wedding feast of Cana. He calls her woman, which is an act of respect and a way of acknowledging her innate goodness. Jesus treats this unnamed woman with tenderness. He does not lecture or preach, but says to her that she is not condemned and that she should go and sin no more. Notice, she does not move. She stays with Jesus. Maybe she is still waiting for his condemnation. Or maybe because she realizes she's in the presence of a holy man and wants to remain near him. But Jesus tells her to go and to change her lifestyle. I don't know what happens, but I think the encounter with our Lord gives her the grace to go and do as Jesus said, to sin no more. Jesus treats the men in the same way. He does not berate them or point out their sin. His simple statement must have caught them off guard. Let the one among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at a sinner. They all dropped their stones and went away. They recognized themselves as sinners too. All of us have been the woman. We know how it feels to have our sin brought out into the open. We've been caught lying or cheating or gossiping. We've seen the look of hurt on another's face after we've been mean or rude or hurtful. We feel ashamed and we don't like ourselves much. All of us know our own sinfulness, and all of us have had the experience of someone's mercy and forgiveness. But we have also been the one to point out another's failings, to harshly judge a person and reduce them to their sin. We see only the sin and not the person. So we show no mercy. We harshly criticize, which allows us to feel superior. Maybe the lesson of this story is twofold. First, to name our sin and try to sin no more. And second, to never condemn another for their sin. For as we judge, so God will judge us. For Wineskins, I am Sister Regina Rogers.
We all know that it is a good idea to get a good physical checkup annually. And the same is true for our spiritual life as well. Our religion can get sick just like our bodies can. Jesus is called the great physician. An open and honest visit with him can put our faith on the road to recovery. Wineskins is made possible through the annual Bishop's Appeal, the Catholic Communication Campaign, and St. Paul's Catholic Books and Gifts. The program is produced by CTNY, the Catholic Telecommunications Network of Youngstown. I'm Father Jim Korda, saying thank you for being with us. Have a blessed week.
What have you done for your marriage today?
I gave my wife a hug this morning. I told her I love her.
I did her hair this morning. I think it looks pretty good.
I cooked my husband's favorite breakfast.
I bought her an orchid.
What have I done for my marriage today? I sent my husband a love email.
I read the newspaper to my wife, and it cracked her up. But she's still laughing.
What have you done for your marriage today? Make a change for the better. Need help? Go to foryourmarriage.org, a message from the Catholic Church.
They say America is the land of opportunity, but for some, life isn't so easy. Right now in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. That's nearly 13 million children of all races, all across our country. Where do you draw the line and get involved? You can make a difference in more ways than you think. Go to povertyusa.org today, because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many. A message from the Catholic Campaign for Human Development.